definitely got some work to do. We're gonna build a cool custom headache rack.
So I get to have all the fun?
Yeah, sir.
All right, just remember, I like bling.
Oh, I know you do.
Oh, you have a 69 Corvette there?
Sure is. Unbolt the body off the frame and build a whole new chassis, new suspension. We gotta wake this thing up.
Oh, I'm caught on something.
About 420 horsepower. This thing's a huge improvement.
This thing's gonna be cool as hell when it's finished.
What did you do to my car?
I'm Bill Carlton. I built my first truck when I was 16. And ever since, me and my guys have been out here creating with our hands. Building the biggest, lowest, baddest custom trucks and cars in the game. People don't come here for what they need. They come here for what they want. This is Texas Metal.
You know, 20-something years ago, I never set out to have a customizing shop business. It just kind of evolved into what it is, and I definitely never thought I'd have a cool sound like that. I mean, that is...
You know, I can't say enough about my team, my guys. You know, we're all a big family. I can't say anything else, but I've been totally blessed.
What do you guys think? That's pretty cool, huh? You know, things have been going really good at the shop. This is just a sign of that. I feel like my business is actually legitimized now. You get an actual sign up on the building.
You know, it's crazy to think, growing up on this property, I never, ever thought it would ever become what it is. You know, coming from where I come to work with a mindset, this could all go away. You know, we gotta stay hungry. We've been super busy, busier than ever. All these builds coming into the shop, every one of them is an opportunity to push our creativity even more. Big John said he might be in the neighborhood today, so he's just stopping by to check on progress.
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
What's happening, John?
Same old, same old. How's everything?
Going good. How's that old milk truck doing?
Wonderful. I mean, it looks great, runs good.
Good, man.
Family
That's
loves
always
it.
good to hear.
Wow, this rascal is looking good.
Yeah, this thing's transformed a little bit from when it came
Oh,
in.
yeah, it looks totally different.
John's 1950 Ford F5 came in rough shape. It's taken months of work to get it to this point. It's just one of the coolest COEs you can find in the custom scene. The COE means cab over engine, which the engine sits way back and it has a short snub nose and sits up a little higher than, you know, a regular one-ton truck. As far as the interior, we got the dash all smoothed out. You know, it had a bunch of holes in the dash and a bunch of
And the
crap
doghouse
everywhere.
looks fantastic.
John's had just about every kind of custom car, and he really is drawn to the COEs because they're totally different. He bought this truck online. Someone grafted another set of front doors onto the back. Then we picked it up from there. New latches on it, new door handles.
That's gonna be beautiful.
You know, once we get the front end back on, we'll build you some running boards that tie right back into the bed, bolt right up. And you see we already got the basic shape and style here, but we're gonna build a headache rack that goes over and then molds into the bed also.
All right, just remember, I like bling, you know.
Oh, I know you do. And what color are you thinking on this? I know you have a color
Wife
preference.
and I, we've been leaning towards an orange.
Just a bright orange?
Bright orange, no metallic.
Bright with some bling on it.
Bingo. Nobody else has a 1950 crew cab like mine. When I see what he's done so far in the mid-build, I'm really getting excited to see the finished product.
And we got a little surprise for you back here. Well, we're gonna keep that a surprise too.
I knew you'd do that. We're there with it. He's got some surprises for me. And he didn't let me down on the milk truck. I don't expect him to let me down on this one. I'm gonna let you get after it. See you later. Take care. See you later.
Good to see you, John.
Bye-bye.
The really cool part about having a custom shop is getting to let your creativity shine. When long projects like this, where you're doing body work all day, you're doing metal work all day, I hate it. I'm an instant gratification guy. I want to see progress every day. We've done a ton of work to this to get to this stage. This is really start to where it gets fun, but you know, the work isn't over. The work's just starting on a different level. That all is part of the puzzle along the way. Getting to the end of the puzzle is a big, big struggle. Man, no, Big John seemed like he was pretty happy about the bed when he stopped by.
Man, I saw you over here talking. He looked overall happy with the whole truck.
Yeah, he loves it.
Gentlemen, gentlemen, gentlemen. Here we are again.
You already know this thing's been here a while. It's been a long style, just nothing fit, nothing lined up.
50% done?
Just about that. Once it's in this stage, man, I really think we're on the downhill slope for sure. We're gonna build a cool custom headache rack to fit the side of the cab, to make it fit this truck. I wanna incorporate a wood bed on top of this, but not just sitting on top. I want it recessed down into the bed. And I want to bring that wood down on the running boards also.
Man, that'll be a cool touch.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody do that.
Plus, it makes it look like it all goes with the truck. It all ties
Flows through. So anything else you're thinking?
You know, Big John told me he's got to have the bling. So he wants chrome accents everywhere. Chrome grille, chrome bumpers, chrome mirrors, chrome handles. You know, with the nice, bright orange, this thing is going to be really cool and stand out.
You want everything bright, shiny?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
But
we definitely got some work to do.
All right, I'm going to get to work.
All right. We're going with the Western Holler look. A real clean flatbed with a little something extra. It's time to get John busy on this metal work.
What's up, man?
Ready to get going on this thing?
Yes, sir.
Now's the fun part. Now we can really start to get creative with this thing and show what we can do.
So I get to have all the fun?
Yeah, buddy. What I want to do is in a flatbed. And I also want you to start building the running boards on this. And I want wood inset in the running board, too. So you can actually use it. You can step on it and not have to worry about messing the paint up. I think bringing the color of the wood as a contrast to the bright orange paint that's going to be on here, this thing is really going to stand out and be a huge surprise for him.
So we're going to have to use nothing but the finest orange tree wood.
Leaving it up to you, buddy.
It's time to get to work. So we're gonna start making this running board here. So what I'm gonna do first is cut me out a piece of square tubing for this outside edge, and then start cutting out everything else I need to bolt that to the cab, bolt onto the fender, bolt onto the bed, so it's removable. What I want this to do is fit real snug up against here. I like to go little by little, don't overcut, so you get it just almost perfect, and then hit it with the grinder to make it perfect. This is it. This is gonna be the perfect fit. The design we're going with on the running board is gonna kind of represent the shape of the bed. We're gonna have some nice sharp corners in its design. So once this is all tacked up in place, I'll break these bars off and you'll be able to see what I've created on this outside edge. It's just a reference of where I need to bend it. I'll hit it on the opposite side of that mark, which will bend it the way that I need it to hug this fender tightly. This fender likes tight hugs, in case you're wondering. Now we gotta poke some holes. Now I got the structure of the running board. I'm gonna throw some ribs in here to connect the outside to the inside, where it's gonna be bolted up to the cab, and start building the frame for the wood inserts.
What's that?
So, uh-oh. We're gonna have to take a little tamale break. We'll be back to you shortly.
On the bed of this COE, I want the design to flow from the front to the back. So John is fabbing the running boards with this seamless wood inlay.
Now I got the running board drawn out. Now I know exactly how to shape the wood inserts that are gonna get cut out on the CNC table. After we cut our blanks out of MDF just to build off of, we use cheap MDF. That way there's no worries if it gets burnt and messed up. We could go back and cut the hardwood out with the same file, and it'll be the exact same dimensions. And all we have to do is drop those in for final assembly. Let's see what we got here. Nice. Now I'm gonna start making all the metal trim that goes. What we're about to do is cut out some 18 gauge sheet metal, and then we're gonna cut down some strips about 1 inch wide, break it right in the middle, make 90-degree angles. And what I'm gonna do is form that to fit around those wood templates that we got. So we can set that into the running board. What this is gonna be is just a big frame for the wood. It's gonna look really nice.
You know, one of the cool parts about being this busy, we get the chance to really work on some iconic rides. You know, some of them we never even had a chance to work on before, and putting our spin on them for the first time.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, how you doing? Josh, just driving in from Austin. Nice to meet you, Bill.
Nice to meet you.
Tim,
Hey, Tim, nice to meet you.
what do you have, a 69 Corvette there?
Sure is.
Well, let's check it out.
All right.
The 69 Stingray was part of the third generation of Corvettes. At the time, it was the height of American muscle.
Man, it's a good-looking car.
Thanks.
Man, these old Stingrays are always going to be classic. Just the body lines, the way everything looks, it's just an iconic car.
Yeah, I got that ducktail rear end.
They're timeless. Like, you can have them another 50 years and they'll still be in style.
Yeah, this was a classic year.
Josh, what are you seeing, man? You want to change the color on this thing, or?
From Austin, you know, just all the hills and stuff, it needs to drive better.
Definitely.
Man, this car is really special to me. I got it from a friend, and, you know, it looks great. The car just stops traffic. If it drove as good as it looks, that would be my dream.
Heck yeah. So keep the original look, just with a lot of performance.
Perfect. That's exactly what I want.
Josh, I think to make this thing really, really cool, handle good, ride good, we just need to unbolt the body off the frame and just start over. Build a whole new chassis, new suspension, and make this thing really exciting to drive.
You can do that?
Hell yeah.
That would be fantastic.
And the side pipes and everything, you're wanting to leave that?
Yeah, I'd like to keep
You
that
like
stock
that look, huh?
yeah.
I mean, it looks great, but, man, they're a little tired. I think maybe even making these things out of stainless, polish them up, just be a total package then.
Boy, I wasn't really thinking about that when I rolled up, but now that you mention it, man, that just makes the picture perfect.
Josh, what we got under the hood?
Let me show you. You can see it's just a stock 350.
Out of the factory, the 69 Stingray, with its fiberglass body and its small block, made it top of the line. However, these days, we can do a lot better.
Man, Josh, with the brand new frame, new suspension, we need something with a lot more power. I'm thinking LS in this thing and really wake it up.
Man, if you're going to do all that, it's going to need a 6-speed. It's just going to be fun to drive.
Man, that'd be a 1-2 punch. Man, this thing, you're gonna be able to just get in it, turn the key, and go all the way to California if you want to. All that power in Austin, up and down those hills. Man, am I excited.
And the inside looks good. Just the only thing you need is a stereo in this thing. Something with a nice sound in it.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it wide open to you. I know y'all come up with something.
Josh, if that sounds good, man, let's get this thing unloaded and get going. Let's make it happen.
All right, Bill.
Nice to meet you, Josh.
Thanks, Tim.
Yes, sir.
You know, this 1969 Vet, man, it's got some years on it. This thing still has great styling. It looks really good, in great shape. You know, this old Vet like this is always going to be just timeless. The body itself it's a work of art. In the 60s, you know, this thing was top of the line. You know, everybody talks about how much power they had, how well it handled. You know, that's all you hear growing up. To today's standards, you know, a family sedan is outperforming this thing right off the assembly line. And, you know, that's sad.
Hey, go ahead and top it off for me when you're done.
Good in there, Rudy.
Like my new car?
Whole lot better than them glasses.
What are you talking about? You guys don't know anything about style.
Well, what does have style is a 1969 Corvette, right?
Oh, yeah.
What isn't stylish is the suspension under this thing.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with that.
We gotta wake this thing up. We're gonna start by lifting this thing up, unbolting the chassis, dropping it down, and rolling it out and starting fresh. We'll get some metal off the shelf and just start building a new frame for this thing. We're hand making a chassis that'll stand up to more power and have a lot better performance. We gotta be super careful with this fiberglass shell, or it'll create a ton of structural issues. A 20-inch wheel and tire with some meat on the back of this thing.
Something to put the power to the ground.
That's it. New independent front suspension, front and rear. New engine, manual transmission.
We're just gonna rip out everything old on this thing and give it a new extensive style?
That's it. We're gonna keep the body of this thing. I mean, look at it, it's in great shape. I mean, it's showing some wear, though.
Yeah.
We're gonna wet sand and buff it and just make it look like it would have looked in 1969.
It's gonna look good.
Well, let's get this thing up on the lift. Let's get going on and get it tore down. Start building this thing. Don't
Sounds
forget your safety glasses.
Man, go ahead and take them off so y'all stop ridiculing me on my cool glasses. We'll be back, baby. Come, Tim.
I'm coming.
The fiberglass body is already fragile. With this 50-year-old fiberglass body, we got to be super careful.
All right, got it.
When you're tearing apart a chassis on a metal body, no problem. Shape this, hammer that, make it work. Totally different with the fiberglass body. You got to work with what's there. There's no shaping this. There's no reconstructing without causing yourself a whole lot of issues later. This
is the same
from the whole frame. Might leave this. That'll hold the radiator in the whole spot and everything.
Yeah. I'll just take this back off.
And Rudy, that bolt's never coming out. Between the fiberglass and all these bolts, a lot of people would think twice before tearing this chassis out. However, that's not to say it doesn't need replacing. Most of these bolts were weathered and rusted together. So if this car would have been metal, it probably rusted through.
What do you think?
Let's find out. Here, go up.
Whoa.
Get caught on something.
I have Tim and Rudy pulling out the chassis of the 1969 Stingray so we can build one custom. As usual around here, it's easier said than done.
A lot of these boats have nuts on the backside of them, which are tucked in behind little small crevices. Chevy back then wanted to put in a secret panel right here for the body mount in the back. And if you look in here, there's one more bolt here for the body. I mean, look at that. Once you take that lid off, come to find out this car used to actually be yellow. The secrets you find tearing these cars apart.
Corvettes, just one thing after another. You never would have thought it had taken this long just to find all the bolts, but we're gonna get this body separated here in about 5 minutes. Ready?
Ready. Keep going. We're good. Let's do it.
All right.
Ready to roll this thing out?
Gladly.
Check it out, Tim. Sure don't hit the ground. Perfect.
One of the first steps in the whole frame building process is finding out where everything goes.
We make most of our custom chassis on a table before we install them. You know, there's not a lot of room underneath this fiberglass body, so we got to be as precise as possible. You know, we're doing something we don't normally do. We're going to build the chassis right to the body. You know, that way it's going to fit 100% on the first try.
So the first thing's finding center of the fender well for the wheel and spindle.
Hey, when you go back just a hair.
This way?
Yeah.
There's a lot of adjusting, a lot of tweaking, a lot of moving to find that sweet spot.
Man, I like how that looks on this car.
Everything is exactly in line, both directions. We know exactly how much room we have to build the frame around. So next step's to get started.
We got some 2x4 tubing. We're gonna run down both sides, connect it across the back, then we'll build the rear subframe off of that.
Go ahead and just plasma it out real quick.
So we're gonna go ahead and plasma out the tubing so that DOM can slide in here. We'll cut a little bigger so we'll have room to play. And that's what's gonna connect the body to the frame rails. This will go to the bottom of the car. The bolts will go through and hold it tight. When we drop the frame, we'll weld the tops all the way around. This is gonna be our 4-link mount. This is what's now the structure of the 4-link mount is made. This is the rear subframe. This will be the main frame. With the whole frame welded out, this frame's gonna be extra strong and be perfect for what Josh wants to do in the hills of just driving this car as hard as he can, as fast as he can, and see what he can do.
I bet your favorite teacher was an arts and crafts teacher, huh?
No, not really, because she was an old, mean-ass lady.
John's made great progress on the F5 COE bed. So now we can move to the headache rack.
You know, the truck itself has some great styling, so we're gonna emulate that into the style and curves in the back little headache rack. You know, there's the inside and outside to this thing, so I wanna get the inside piece to have the exact same line as the outside. And it's super difficult to get in between there and kind of get back and trace. So thinking we'll use just a light and a little shadow right there. We'll have a perfect line to trace, and then it'll match up perfect.
Traced out. Now it's time to cut out these metal parts. And now where you're gonna cut first and where you're gonna end until the big pieces fall. And always make sure you wear steel toe boots when stuff is landing on your feet. When I first started out welding, when I was young, maybe like 12, 13, my dad told me, I'm getting you a grinder for Christmas. I've seen your welds. Damn.
Tack it in, have it right up against it, and it'll just naturally curve up. All right, cool. Get that other piece up here. This thing's really taking shape. I love the flow of it. It fits the truck very well. So the next step is just making a bunch of filler pieces.
And make the final cap at the corner. Not only is this curved this way, but it's also twisted as it curves. So it got me some reference marks drawn out there. And once I connect them from side to side, you'll see how I'm gonna have to force my brakes in this metal to make it roll and kind of twist at the same time. Then take it over to the English wheel, form it a little bit. On the English wheel, the top wheel is flat, and the bottom wheel has a contour to it. And as you roll the metal lower wheel and gives it that radius that the lower wheel has. I mean, sure, you could go put this on a table and beat it with a hammer, but you'll have a bunch of dents in it. You know, you want it to be smooth, so this is the best way of doing that. Now we gotta weld this out, but we can't run a consistent bead because it'll generate too much heat, so we gotta move it around. If not, this piece will just deform on you, warp, and it won't look too well.
It's always good to see progress on these big builds. The headache rack and bed are taking shape on this F5 COE. So much to the point, we can plot out where the wood's gonna be.
Ready to get this wood laid out?
Yep.
We'll go with all the same spacing that's on the running boards, you know, 2 inch on the outer side, you know, 1.5 inches on the inside, just to give a little style to it.
Yeah.
You don't want to give John something a little different, something nobody's really seen before that shows everyone we don't take a car in just to get it done. We want to build it with passion.
Now we got all the big pieces of floor out. Now I got to notch all the bracing down about 1 inch to accommodate bracing that I got to build around it. Now it's time to grind it, clean it up so I can cap the top. We don't want these bracings to fill up with water when you're driving in the rain, if you get caught in the rain. So we got to cap it, seal it up, and then once that's done, we can build all the frame for the wood inserts. That's why Daddy gave me a grinder all those years ago. Thanks, Dad.
Because we're building the chassis of the 1969 Corvette directly to the body of the car, we're gonna put the motor and trans in place and build everything else around it.
Came in, huh?
I did.
2012 Camaro, about 420 horsepower. This thing's a huge improvement.
Man, 6-speed, the car's so short, low to the ground, and all the new suspension, it's just gonna run, drive like a little go-kart all the time. All we do now is slide it in, get it leveled, and I think we're ready. We go back a little bit. Whoa. You hitting right there now?
Catching the top a little bit.
Hit the back up. Tight.
Man, it's a whole lot of power in this car. I'm gonna have a whole bunch of fun with this motor.
You talking about whenever you level it up and get it centered? Good job.
No, man, I'm talking about when I'm driving it.
Our next step is to build a cross member for the chassis that'll hold both sides together and keep.
So I just went ahead and drew my center line. That way I know when I match everything up, everything's gonna be nice and straight, center, parallel. Center lines are your best friends. We'll level this.
We look centered in the wheel well, Rudy?
Yeah. We're attaching our final pieces to connect our front frame section to our actual frame. Normally people would usually just use 2 mounts, but we're gonna go ahead and reinforce it with 3, only because it's a fiberglass body, and so any vibration can start cracking at any point. All we have to do now is make a pipe that's gonna connect the bracket to the frame. I like to grab a little small piece of copper tubing, because it's easy for me to work the shape out by hand. Want to keep the front end as rigid as possible. We don't want this fiberglass to crack. Once the fiberglass cracks, this thing is whacked. So I have my pipes cut out. Now I have to go ahead and bend it to match this angle. And then we'll just throw a little weld on there. Our piece is gonna be bending underneath the radiator here.
That looks pretty good, Rudy. Building the chassis to the Corvette body took some extra engineering, but now it's super strong and in the perfect place to build the front suspension off of.
Do your thing, weld it out right there. Cool, let's do it.
When we do the mock-up, and a lot of the Pro Touring cars, the high-powered cars that are trying to get into the corners and make it handle real stiff, they're going to these coilovers, which is we're going to do the same on this car. What this is going to do is the spring will hold the car up. If we raise this up, the car will raise up 1 inch. You want to lower the car, it'll allow the spring to collapse the same amount, and the car actually lower. What the shock does, this just keeps the car solid. If you want a little stiffer ride, you add a little bit more shock. Less, you add a little less shock. So it's a perfect setup for these Pro Touring style cars.
With the front suspension in place, we can fit the C4 differential to the rear.
Things looking good. You know, that's perfect placement for this thing. But we're so limited of room underneath here. You know, by the time we get the lower arms on, the spindles on, the 4-link, you know, we want the coilover back up front. So the body here is in the way. So let's go ahead and cut all this out so we got plenty of room to mock the shock up. And this is one of the last things we got to do to this chassis. Rudy, you be able to ride in style.
Oh, yeah.
Put them glasses back on.
Where are your glasses? I gave them back to my sister.
We've been really trying to leave the classic body stock. But if we had to cut anything, it'd be these storage boxes. Because we need so much more room for the coilover and a couple extra braces, we're just gonna take these boxes completely out of the way, and all the structure of the car is gonna stay up in here, so we kept all that. These storage boxes, they can go in and won't hurt nothing at all.
Because we went with a wider wheel and a lot deeper offset, there's a whole lot less real estate underneath the 69 Corvette for the suspension. So we're gonna have to modify the C4 suspension that we're putting in this to fit perfect.
Now we have the rear end locked up in place. What we're gonna do is put a spindle on the wheel, put the wheel up here in place, and make sure the wheel is centered in the wheel well.
You know, we don't want the wheel too far out, because then obviously it's gonna hit the outside of the fender. It's gonna either tear up our fiberglass or it's gonna start tearing up our tire on our wheel. We definitely don't need that.
Is that where you want it, Rudy? Look good? Level, center in the wheel well?
Yeah.
Now everything's set right where we want it. First thing we're gonna do is make the bars that connect the frame to the spindle, which is gonna be a 4-link.
Then we went ahead and cut out our center pieces for our 4-links. Typically they're a little bit longer than this, but with our car being so small and compact, this is what we're gonna get. But it's gonna work. You know, 4 links will be done. Want to trace the top of this? When you're driving down the road, you want the wheels to be in alignment at all times. So I'm making a camber bar to give the suspension more rigidity. How's that look?
That's good out here.
So moving on, we're gonna go ahead and start installing our coilover.
For the most part, the rear suspension is fitting well, except for the drive shafts that are just too big. Rudy's gonna cut these, use them for mock-up. We'll take them to the drive shaft specialist to have brand new ones made.
And there she goes. Cutting, cutting. Woo! Perfect. We're gonna keep this one. We're gonna measure 1 3/4 and cut it out. Cool, there we go. It's the excess we don't need no more, so we'll get rid of that. This is what we need now. Mock it up on the car. We'll go ahead and tack this in place. That'll be our mock-up drive shaft.
Ooh, this thing looking good. You know, the new frame looks so nice and round on the heels and through the curves. So you ready to get it separated? Let's get this thing off the powder coat and really make it shine.
We successfully removed the body from the frame. A whole lot easier than doing it from the factory frame.
The chassis is just getting back from powder coat, so I got Justin making brand new headers and side pipes. It'll give it a meaner, way more custom look.
So we're about to start the build on these headers for the '69 Corvette. It's going to be a side-mounted exhaust with the muffler integrated into it. One of the key things on building a set of custom headers is you need to look and find out which one's going to be your hardest tube to place. In this case right here, it's going to be this front runner. So we're going to start from right here, and we're going to build this tube all the way out to hold our collector in place. From there, we can kind of just follow along that one until we get the other three out. You can see right here, we got a lot of bends and twists on this exhaust system. Reason being is we have a lot of components that we need to try to avoid, like our steering shaft, our motor mount. So we're gonna end up doing some 45s or some pretty steep bends to get it to clear. These things are gonna be crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and get this first tube marked. We're gonna go to the table and tack it. Then we're gonna start tacking our next tube until we get out to our collector. You know, I mean, it's a lot of cutting, welding, grinding, until you end up with a finished product that you're happy with. What we're using is a 304 stainless material. The material we're using is twice as thick almost as your traditional headers. Stainless is a little bit tougher to cut, so it's a little bit harder on your blades, and the welding process is totally different. I'm using a TIG weld to give it a cleaner, smaller seam than a regular weld, and that's what you're looking for on exposed stainless steel headers. But the finished product is you got a header that'll last forever, it won't rust, and it looks cool as hell when it's finished. All right, now that we got everything tacked up, we can go ahead and test fit it on the car, make sure everything's good, and then work on our side pipes. Now that we got all the tubes in place and the header bolted up, we can start from our V-band down, and that's gonna be the fun part where we get to add the muffler, kind of quieten it down a little bit so it sounds a little bit more street friendly. From here, we're gonna go ahead and slide a 3-inch tube in here to come out almost to the end of where our side exit is gonna be. What we're gonna end up doing is sliding a 4-inch tube over the 3-inch tube, and what that's gonna do, after this is welded out and polished, it's just gonna look like one straight 4-inch pipe from the collector all the way out to the tip. And we'll go ahead and weld these out, repeat the process on the other side, and then these pipes will be good to go.
Now that we got this 1969 Corvette to 21st century performance standards, it's time to fix that stereo. So John's gonna make a handmade modern day speaker box.
You know, a Corvette is all about its nice smooth lines and curves. So same thing with the box. We don't want just a square enclosure in here. We're gonna put a little something to it, still make it nice and rugged and durable and usable. What I'm doing here is I'm just kind of sketching out my shape that I want on the front of this box. This is actually going to be the front side where the seats sit. Once I get the sides cut, the next thing I'll do is actually cut the opening in the top here. Once I get the opening in the top cut, I'll kerf it and let it follow the curve that I put in this side panel here. So basically, when I'm kerfing something, I just move my saw blade every 1/4 inch, so it leaves enough meat in there to hold together. If you go in too deep, it'll end up breaking off, so you want to make sure you just get the right height set on your blade and just move the fence over and over and over.
Direction of what I want to do. I know I didn't want to go to college. That college wasn't for me.
Sure wasn't for me either. I mean, to be honest, I didn't even finish high school. You know, I got halfway there, and I couldn't learn by reading a book or listening to a teacher or anything. The only way I learned was by using my hands.
Yeah.
And my dad, fortunately, had a shop established already, so after school, I would go and mess around with stuff. He's seen what I could do, and my mom's seen what I could do, and they figured I was wasting teachers' time, so.
Yeah, and everybody learns different. You know, for me, it's getting out, making the mistakes, and learning from the mistakes.
Exactly.
You know, that's how I learned doing what we do. That's how you get good at doing what you do, is making those mistakes, and everybody's gonna make them, learn from them, go from there, better yourself from that.
Messed up a whole lot of stuff, huh?
Right? Still do. You see a lot of Corvette bodies laying around custom shops totally unfinished. And now we definitely know why. Adding custom suspension and a chassis is a lot of work. To my team's credit, we're almost through the tunnel. Once John's finished installing the custom speaker box, it's time to give this thing back to Josh.
This thing's turned out looking awesome. So all I got left to do now, I think he's gonna like it. Oh, squeeze. Thanks, sir.
Already?
Man, like a glove. Might need to wash the car a little bit.
You know, this Vet was definitely a challenge for us, but man, just looking at the stance of this car and just the overall look at it, we definitely all did our job. This thing looks badass.
Wow. What a deal, Bill. Look at that.
What's happening, man?
How you doing, Josh? Good.
What did you do to my car? I love it.
What do you think, man?
Man, oh man. You outdid yourself.
Man, you got here just in time. I thought Rudy was going to take off with it.
I would too if I worked here.
Me and her had a good emotional connection, so I took really good care of her for you.
Oh, it looks like it. Oh man. This is fantastic. You know, I really like the look of the car, and I didn't really know how I was going to...
Working on this car was a complete new experience for us. With it being a fiberglass body, we had to be extra precautious, even just tearing it down.
I mean, it definitely had some challenges. Took out that old engine, took out the old chassis. We just had this thing up on the lift, leveled it all up, and started building the frame piece by piece to the car.
Boy, it ought to drive like a rocket.
Man, absolutely. We know you wanted that C4 suspension on this thing, you know, with the upper and lower aluminum control arms, aluminum spindle. It looks really cool underneath the car, especially with the addition of the coilovers on this thing.
No kidding.
Everything underneath this car is 100% brand new.
Oh, that's what I wanted.
These wheels and tires are a huge upgrade, too, with the low profiles. You know, you had the 15s on there. We bumped it up to 20s. That's really going to help the handling of this thing also.
Yeah, they almost look stock.
Yeah.
From the outside, it still looks like a 69 Vet. And then you start looking through the wheels and you start seeing body parts that you know don't go on that car.
Yeah.
They're super upgraded.
Especially the side pipes on this thing, too. The other ones, you know, just were...
Tired.
You need to upgrade. You definitely got that.
And y'all custom made those?
We had Justin build you a one-off set of headers and side pipes on this thing that really just wake this thing up.
No kidding. Those crazy side pipes and headers are unbelievable. Built by hand. The one
Tired 350 in that thing is long gone. You got a new 6.2 in here, has a ton of horsepower. We know you like the manual transmission. You know, it had a 4-speed in it, now it has a 6-speed. So this thing's gonna be fun to drive.
I'll bet. Yeah, you did me a custom shifter too. That's really cool.
You know, with all this extra power, I know you're gonna spend a lot of time in this thing, so we definitely had to upgrade the stereo in this thing. It's got 6-inch full-range speakers and 1,000 watts of power.
Wow.
You won't have any trouble hearing this thing.
No, I won't have to sing to myself anymore.
Man, Josh, there's only one way to really see if we did a good job or not.
Let's go drive it.
Let's go check it out.
Thanks, Rudy.
All right, no problem, Josh. You take good care of her now.
I will. I love it. I can't say enough about this car. It's just over the top. Thanks, Extensive. Man, you guys blew it out of the park. I knew you could do it.
You You know, it's crazy to think how much time we put into the metalwork and the bed of the Ford COE already. And I feel like we're just getting... That was a lot of work, man, but this is definitely going to pay off.
Man, John's really gonna love this thing when he gets it back.
He can't not. Let's get the panels in here. Shoot, if they all fit good, let's get it off the powder coat.
Uh-huh.
We still have to make the suspension, bedwood, custom interior, and paint. And wouldn't you know it, Big John just called with one more thing he wants to do. Man, this looks real, real good.
Once we get that good wood in here with that paint separating the panels,
yes,
man, it's gonna look really, really nice.
Absolutely. It's gonna look totally unique, totally set it apart from anything else. We'll forget about all that hard work once we see all that, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's part of the whole custom scene. Everybody's always looking to be bigger, better, and one of a kind. And this one is not even close to being done.